Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope on this 22nd edition of the program here. Got a great show with you for tonight. Got Keith Engel coming on the program to talk college football. Going to get his take on Drake May, potential MVP candidate. I mentioned that last week with Rich Ferris. And what does he think about this Florida job just came open over the weekend? I'm going to talk about that as well before Keith comes on the program 30 minutes past the hour here. Got a few comments on that. Got a few comments on the Patriots and the start that they had this season. A lot of people overlooking the Patriots. I'm one of those people early on. But right now, like the Colts, I'm taking this team seriously. Okay? So stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily and hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, I'm back here live. By the way, go back if you haven't got a chance to listen to, and I'm going to cut it up and do more edits of yesterday's program whenever I get a chance here in the next day or so. But you can go back and listen to all the programs, obviously on YouTube, Spotify, whatnot, but particularly here on the YouTube page. Very good, a disagreeable, I wouldn't say a heated debate, but a disagreement there with guest Rich Ferris from Cumulus 104.5, the Zone, which is the radio station that covers, they're the flagship that cover the Tennessee Titans. Had just a disagreement there. I think that owner, Amy Adams Strunk, I think she has a lot more say than she's letting on. She is... it comes out that she says, I fired this person. We decided. She does not say my staff decided that she is the one calling the shots there. She's the one that fired John Robertson the Monday after the game. She's the one that reacted with emotion. Not saying she was wrong for that, but she's also should be held accountable for the mishaps that she's made and for the fact that if you hire another one of these no-name coordinators, she should sell the team. She's trying to think small. They're going to try to sell us a bunch of, and Rich doesn't agree with that. And they are taxing. There is a tax. What do you want to call it? A hotel tax, whatever. That's still a tax on the city. That's still a tax to pay for part of that stadium. Now, it's not all of it, but it is part of that stadium. It's not 100% owner funded. So I want to clear that up. I was listening to the replay of that yesterday, but it's a nice little back and forth. Go back and listen to it. Of course, Rich is great. Just disagree. Hey, a lot of people disagree with me. I don't agree with one person 100% on anything. So good stuff here. But anyways, I wanted to go back to the NFL, and I had some information here on the Patriots. And I hope that I didn't accidentally delete it. No, here we go. Listen, as I said in the Power 5 yesterday, think about this for a second. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. And second-year quarterback, Drake May, and not saying that he's going to be anywhere close to Tom Brady. That's way too short of a sample size. But like I mentioned yesterday, alluded to 94 something percent completion percentage. I think 88 is the number for Tom Brady ever for a single game in the history of the Patriots franchise. Uh, better than Tom Brady, arguably the GOAT, still the GOAT, greatest of all time there, quarterback, and not just obviously in history. But, you know, and but they could potentially be a 1 or 2 seed. Like Rich said yesterday, this guy could be an MVP candidate. You think about this for a second. He was the third quarterback taken last year, behind Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels was just money last year. He's struggling this year, but he was money last year. And this guy can potentially win MVP. Now, of course, hey, Lamar Jackson won MVP in year 2. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl in year 2. But you go from a team that looks like they're going to be flailing for years to come, with all the turnover they've had, with the turbulence, with Bill Belichick drafting. Think about it for a second. All those bad picks to Belichick, which ultimately got him fired. And he still does not want any of the players, any of the staff there of the Patriots not to be welcome in North Carolina facilities. He does not want them to have any type of film or anything. He says he'll figure out a way to get it to the sky. He's very petty about this. Very petty. He really has it in for Robert Kraft. But my point is, all those bad picks, and we could go on for the rest of the show talk about bad picks that Bill Belichick made as the general manager of the Patriots. When Brady left, everything fell off. You still can't flush all that. You have a 53-man roster, but they had a lot of turnover last year, a lot of picks there, and a lot of free agent signings, a lot of money spent. Guys like Milton Williams there with the defensive tackle, Will Campbell there, the left tackle there, who's turned out to be a great player there, and whatnot. And of course, Drake May, last year's pick, but you got first-year coach there, Mike Vrabel, coming off of a coach there, and Gerard Mayo, who was horrible, horrible from day one. More of a just because you kept him on defense coordinator, you promised the guy the job, knowing he probably wasn't the best guy for it. And you all know how I feel about Mayo once he started playing that victim card before he even coached it down there. Talk about race problem in NFL, and I don't want to get into that crap again. But you look at all that turnover, all that turbulence there, and now this team is at a 2. I mean, I thought they would improve. I think I said I had them at about 9 to 10 wins and will come up just short in the playoffs. Now, I definitely think that, pending a bunch of injuries, I definitely think they're going to make the playoffs. They could potentially still win this division. And Drake May, of all people, could be an MVP. He just would not be a guy. Maybe a Jaden Daniels. Of course, Patrick Mahomes is always a candidate. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, those are the usual suspects. It could be, air quote, candidates to get the MVP, or somebody that's on a team that's projected to play well. Possibly a Brock Purdy, right? I'm talking about coming into the season. A team that was projected to win 11, 12 games or whatever, But, and now, like guys like Baker Mayfield, players you just never would think that would be a potential MVP candidate. So that's an interesting storyline to follow. The New England Patriots succeeding, subsiding expectations. And that's something I'm going to ask Keith Fingal when he comes on 30 minutes past the hour. Okay. Oh, by the way, I know I'm a little bit late on a lot of stuff. So I renewed Netflix back in September to watch the fight. Hosted Terrence Crawford and Canelo or whatever. and Crawford, remember, picked Crawford to win. And so you keep it for 30 days. So I ordered it, then I canceled it. And I think the fight was on like the 13th or something like that. It was on that Saturday. It took forever. We talked about it. I talked about it with the Mad New Yorker, and so I canceled it. So I still had it, and I thought I had it for a little bit longer. Long story short, I reordered it again and then recanceled again. So now I've got it till November. And newsflash, I'll probably order it again at the end of November because Stranger Things comes back on finally after 3 or 4 years off. Right at the end of November, to come back on around Thanksgiving or whatever. But anyways, so I was watching, and one of my riders, I'll drive Uber here in Nashville, and Tennessee or Vanderbilt played LSU here in Nashville area last Friday. I was carrying around LSU fans, real nice, and a lot of them said the same thing. Particularly this one guy and his wife here. He before the even game even started, I said, "Well, I think LSU will win this game. That's who I picked." He says, "Man, I don't like Brian Kelly. I know we're underdogs. He's just not a good fit here. We want him gone." And I thought, wow. But anyways, him and another college fan were both telling me that this Netflix docu-series, but the SEC preview from last year, is more than just a preview show. It goes into the pressures and what you're hearing on the radio, everything from back from last year, and Billy Napier going, he was fired Sunday. Even though they won the game, they still fired the guy. That's too close a game. And I was watching this series. I think I'm in episode 2. I was watching a little bit of when I got off the program this last night. I went to bed and woke up at midnight like I do all the time. And I was up for another hour. And I was watching, and it was so interesting. But the fans in Gainesville, they wanted Napier out after the Miami game last year. That was the first game of the season when Cam Ward went down there, and it was really when he started to make a name for himself. Had a huge game against Florida, where Graham Mertz got hurt. DJ Lagway came in, and ultimately, and I think I said this on the program, ultimately saved Napier's job for the rest of that year and up until now. Because I was for sure, and I was telling everybody, looking at that schedule, how hard that schedule, I was for sure this guy's going to get fired. There's no way he's going to get past it. He's just not up to par. It's a pressure cooker job. And sure enough, that's what happened. And you know something? I looked at Napier's record, and I know that people think that Florida is got unrealistic expectations and everything. And man, I tell you what, I could not believe the record that this guy had, and the fact that he is that he even lasted this long. I mean, his record was 22-23 at Florida. He had a losing record, and then, a lot of times Florida's playing, and one of those games with losses this year was to South Florida. They play teams like Seminole, Florida A&M sometimes. They'll play Townsend State, and this guy still had a 22-23 record in 4 seasons. I was looking at their NIL budget. It's 10th in the country. This was according to On3 Sports here. So I just don't know what the issue is. 10th in the country, 44%, and that's not the highest, and I thought it would be, of their players being in-state players. 44%. Just to go on out the top 10, just to give you a little bit of perspective here. Texas, 60% in-state players from their NIL money. Georgia, 75% of their players are in state. And compared to an Alabama, it's only 10%. 64 in Texas A&M, 46 for Auburn. So Auburn, Texas A&M, Texas, and Georgia have a higher percentage of in-state players that go to those universities. Okay. Florida is just, and I know everybody rates Florida. Florida is the hot bed of talent. You got Miami down there, Mario Cristobal down there. Just absolute getting as many players as they could possibly get, right? But Florida is still, even number 10. You think about it. Number 10 in NIL money, but they're right in the middle. That I've always viewed Florida as the best talent player for player out of high school in the country. Even more than the Texas. And now I know that varies from time to time. Georgia's always a hotbed, really the South in general. But, Georgia, LSU, of course, Texas, a massive state now. But a lot of it is there. IMG Academy, big-time school there, right in the middle of Brandon, Florida, very close to the University of Florida. My thing is that Central Florida area has just got tons and tons of players there, 4 or 5-star players there. You can recruit 75. They can get that. The right coach can get that. That is a good job. And there was reports over the last few days, now nothing has come about it yet, that Lane Kiffin is intrigued by this job. You said, well, why is that? I mean, they were number 4 in the country, and they lost to Georgia this past week, and I thought they were going to win. They scored a touchdown on their first 5 possessions this past week. And, the high school kids I've had on this program that are college prospects, Julian Nurek, 3-star prospect here out of Ezell Harding now, wants to go play for Lane Kiffin. And now, of course, Kiffin's not recruiting him, but these kids love the guy. He's he needles Tennessee. He needles everybody he can get a hold of. He's a needler. He's good for the conference. He's a guy you love to hate. He would be perfect for that job down there. I still say it's a good job. I've read over the years the facilities aren't up to par. Now, maybe that's changed. It might not be as good as Texas A&M or Texas, which is just flushed with cash. I went back to this top NIL money. Texas number 1, Georgia number 2, which I did not know that. Number 3, Alabama. Number 4 is Oregon. Ohio State's 5. Now, I think this is overall. Now, remember, Ohio State was number 1 last year. They had $20 million. And LSU spent $20 million this past year. And I'll get to that story in a minute. But my point is, Florida's a good job. They should have did away with Bill Napier. Buyout or no buyout. They were talking about buying the guy out last year. They were talking about buying him out. It was in this documentary last year. People were asking about it. The reporters were asking about it. Like week 2. There's a report that $26 million, blah, 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 has been, and you got DJ Lagway saying, I'm a Florida Gator. He's only a sophomore. So basically, he's got a year, maybe 2 more years left, probably a year, that you could attract a guy. And he's a world-class talent. I still say he's a little bit out of shape this year. I was a little disappointed, But interesting to see how this thing plays out now that Napier's been fired officially. I'm curious to see if I think Lane Kiffin very well may take this job because he knows he can get close with Ole Miss. He knows he can get over the top of Florida. I'm just the opposite. A lot of people do not view Florida. I've read some articles online that they're overrated, that they think they're a big-time program. Listen, last 30 years, 2 national championships, 2 different coaches. and they're always got a fast defense. So I do think it's a very good job. I do think it's a very good job. Kiffin would be a guy that I think that would he could say publicly all he wants. We know how Kiffin is. I know he's grown up and matured a lot since 2008 when he or whatever I think 9 or whatever went to Tennessee after just 1 year or left Tennessee to take the USC job. I think he has grown up a lot since then. But there is some wondering now. They thought that he was going to. We thought he was going to take the Auburn job. But Hugh Freeze may be in trouble. And I still can't figure out why he ain't got it working there. Speaking of hot seats, and like I said, talked to some LSU fans on Friday, and every one of them said they didn't like Brian Kelly. I mean, they just did not like him. I don't know, watching this documentary, getting some insight on him, they were one of the teams that got covered. He says we're going to have fun. He changed his approach a few years ago. They thought he was being too hard on the players, too rough on because the team wasn't performing well back in Notre Dame. This is 6-7 years ago, maybe a little bit farther back. And Kelly changed his style, softened his approach, softer side of Sears, and they started winning again. And ultimately, he left Notre Dame and took the LSU job. And Marcus Freeman, ironically, a guy I thought was just, hey, guys in the house, let's just give him the job. I thought they got a little bit lazy, but he turns out to be a really good coach so far. Excellent recruiter, excellent eye for talent. But I think he may have went too far the other way, too far the buddy, too far patting the players on the back because the defense is just not quite there. The pass block is just not quite there. In that Vanderbilt game, only 6 sacks, but there's I want to say it was 4 tackles. Let me go back and look so I'm not guessing. I'm not guessing the stat line here. 5 tackles for loss here, and mind you, they had over the $20 million as well. So they pulled what Ohio State did last year. Big money in NIL for 1 year, the big splash money. And, we watch Labor Day weekend. They go up to Clemson, beat Clemson in Clemson. Then we find out Clemson's not that good this year. And now they have lost to Ole Miss. And now they lost to Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt's pretty good. Vanderbilt's also favored this week against Missouri. But they don't have the fact that every year he's been there, the defense is just not rock solid. The fans of LSU are used to seeing quick, smash mouth football, very fast corners, very hard to score on type of team that just they're physical. They're used to the Les Miles at Orgeron teams. They wanted him to add that flavor in there, and he's just not done it. Now, his buyout is, and I don't know who they would get, but I don't think, and I still think that's a great program. You've had Ed Orgeron and Les Miles and Nick Saban. You've had 3 coaches in the past 20 years win 3 national championships. They're up there with Ohio State. 3 coaches last 20 years, 3 national championships. Or at the start of the millennium. Let's check that. The last 25 years. Let's go to 2004. Now, 2 coaches, if you wanted to go 96 with Florida, with University of Florida. But let's go back to since 2000, 3 coaches, just like Ohio State, three different coaches. That is a blue blood program. That's what LSU is now. But it's $53.3 million. It's right up there with James Franklin. And there's people talking. I was on the X out on Saturday afternoon. Is Brian Kelly the next big name? And I got a lot of, you sure the heck is. Now that can change. I played the soundbite I think I did. I'm almost for certain I did. The lady that says when the Powerball was like $1 billion 6-7 weeks ago, after Florida State beat Alabama, how come, man? That seems like that was years ago. Of the lady being interviewed from a local TV station in Tuscaloosa area. What are you going to do with your Powerball if you hit the Powerball? He said, first I'm going to buy out Keelan DeBoer. And then she mentioned I'm going to buy out that AD too for hiring him. You know, but that's the talk right now for Brian Kelly as well. Now listen, you know, he's got 2 losses. They'll probably same thing with the Ohio State coach there. Same thing with him. You know, they lose to Michigan. People calling for his head. They get motivated. They run the table, blow everybody out practically in the playoff, and win the national championship. Now they look great this year. You know, now he's good. He's good to go. But that wasn't the case. Now if they lose again to Michigan, but with the freshman quarterback, that would be an issue. But you know, these are storylines to watch. The fact is that when we've got a 12-team playoff here. I don't think there is a great dominant team, although Ohio State's probably a true number 1 at this point, and it's something I'm going to ask Keith when he comes on here in a few minutes. Is Indiana and Ohio State, is that the game of the year? Is the Big Ten, because that could be 1 and 2 for the Big Ten championship. You know, 1 get that bye week, 2 have to go play the next week. Now, if you lose it, maybe Ohio State's so good they would host the game up in not the next week, it'd be a couple weeks later. That's stupid. I don't know why they've done that. But up in Ohio State, they beat up on Tennessee last year at 2 weeks. It probably won't be that big a deal, but it'll be a good game. You talk about a hyped up game. Indiana, of all teams, Indiana and Ohio State, that could be the game of the year. And on that note, that is just perfect timing, like always. Keith Angle, everybody. Crowd loves you. Hey, Keith.
You got the best audience with their
man. Hey, man, I bigger audience than Kimmel, than all these nighttime talk shows.
Very demonstrative as well. I like that.
Yeah. You know something? When you come in, when I'm just trying to make a point here, just say 6 weeks ago, if I would have said the potential biggest game of the season in college football, Keith, is Indiana and Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, you said, man, you're crazy, dude. That's a blowout. That's not the big. Could that be the biggest game of the year, 1 and 2?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I don't know. I probably would have been shocked if Indiana could have repeated what they did last year. And
I thought they were going to lose to Illinois.
I actually bet Illinois in that game and wish I could have that money back.
Me too. I got destroyed. Oh my God! I turned that off at halftime.
That's when I knew this team was dominant. They're better. It starts at the quarterback position, and they're better.
Yeah.
You know, Rourke was a nice quarterback, but Mendoza's just beyond good, and that's been a big difference. They're better. They're really better in all phases of the game, and they got the best coach in college football besides Kirk Cincinnati is amazing.
Man.
With what he's done there, and he's not going anywhere. Obviously, he signed a big extension now, and Indiana's got resources to continue this. This isn't an aberration. I don't think this will continue, and most likely Ohio State, unless they stumble against Michigan and Indiana, are going to meet in that championship game undefeated.
Yeah, 1 and 2, a heavyweight fight, man.
Yeah.
I looked up a mock draft yesterday, and it was from not some kid that put something out on the internet. It was from a formidable site. I want to say it was like On3 or somebody. CBS. They said there's a possibility of Mendoza going number 1 overall in the draft.
I suppose that's. I mean, again, I wouldn't. We've talked about this a lot on some other shows I've been on, and there's some good quarterbacks out there. There's nobody there that I would be using a first top 10 pick on. I just wouldn't, especially the number 1 pick. The Jets should get ready to trade that pick for a lot. A lot.
You know something, and coming into this season, Keith, you're a big college football guy. I'm a big college football guy. You read the magazines. I read the magazines. You cover the pros. I mean, I thought Nussmeier, Klubik, Arch Manning, but I still said, I said this in the preseason. I said now that he should stay another year because his uncles did. But this was supposed to be this grand draft for quarterbacks, and none of these guys look great, do they, Keith?
That's why Mendoza and Pavia Vanderbilt is playing really good. He's he's not going to be a pro prospect. Don't get me wrong, but he's going to start getting some Heisman chatter pretty soon if he keeps this up. But you're right. I mean, and I'll talk about this in the context of Arch Manning. Everybody wants to rip Arch Manning, and he hasn't played great, and the eye test says that. The numbers say you compare him against John Mateer, who everybody was excited about before he hurt his hand. His numbers are better than John Mateer's. His numbers are better than Lenore Sellers, who was one of the Heisman front runners before the season started. He's been better than Drew Allar was before he got hurt. 3-year starter. You mentioned Klubnik, 3-year starter. All these guys have struggled. It's not just Arch Manning, but we focus on him because of who he is and what his name is. Let him get his feet under him. These guys all had 2 years of full-time play, and they're worse than he is with 90 passes under his belt before this year.
110%. Yeah. What did you think about him in that Oklahoma game? I think he that was a big come, and I know he had a rough game against Kentucky, but Kentucky always gets up for them. What was your thoughts about? I thought that was like a coming out party.
Kentucky makes everybody look ugly, right? When they play at home, they play really good at home. They make other teams look ugly. So I don't throw much into that. I thought he played really well. I thought they turned him loose a little bit to play the way Art. One thing, if I have one criticism of the program and Scarsazian is they have kept the ropes on him too much. He's a guy who needs to be on the move. He throws well on the move. He can make plays with his feet.
Yes.
And I think early in the year they kept him under wraps too much with some of that stuff. And you saw in Oklahoma, I think they really let him start playing his game. I think he ran for a long touchdown in that game and threw for 1 or 2. And that was a great game. His numbers, you look at him over the year, he's completed 60% of his passes, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's not washout material. I mean, he's still a good quarterback. He's just not, is he the best quarterback you've ever seen? No. But why would we expect that he would be just because his name is Manning and he sat for 2 years, waiting to play?
Like Steve Spurrier said, and Spurrier, he loves to needle everybody. He just said probably Quinn Ewers was simply better at that point. At the
point, I believe Arch Manning would have played if he was better. Right. Yeah, and that doesn't mean I don't think Arch Manning is a bust because he didn't play then, nor do I think he's a bust because he hasn't played as great as everybody expected him to play up until now. He'll stay in school and he'll be a number 1 draft pick somewhere in 2 years.
Me too. Yeah. Is now, Billy Napier, no big surprise here. He was fired over the weekend. And I'm reading some just bad press on Florida. I think Florida's still a good job. Is there something wrong with Florida?
No, I mean their last 2 hires weren't great, right? Dan Mullen just didn't seem wasn't interested in recruiting. That was his big problem. He liked coaching, but he didn't like recruiting. But up until it really went badly, he didn't do horribly there. I mean, he won for 2 years, and I think he was in the SEC championship game his first or second year there. Yeah. Napier never got it going. It looked like last year they turned the corner.
Yeah.
They've had just brutal schedules the last 2 seasons. They've been brutal, but I guess every SEC schedule is going to be like that going forward. And he came from a Group of 5 school and Conference USA, I think, or maybe either Conference USA or the Sun Belt. I don't remember where Louisiana was at the time.
It wasn't another big program, no.
Yeah, it was Louisiana. But he was a good coach, and maybe just the spotlight is too big for him. They still recruit well. There's still some talent there. You saw the talent they had there when they went and a couple of weeks ago, and they went and beat Texas.
Speaking of Texas, yeah.
So
they got a lot of speed on that defense, if you ask me.
They got speed on the defense. I think DJ Langley can be a really good quarterback. He just needs to some coaching. You talked about Spurrier, and I saw the news today that his son is going to come in there to help him with his progress. I think it's a good job. Yes, I think you're going to see them go after some of the big names in college football, and they're not going to settle for a Billy Napier or who's a guy they hired before Mullen, the guy from Colorado, Jim McElwain.
Oh yeah, they've had some duds, ain't they?
This isn't going to be. Yeah, this is still a good job, and I think they'll get a good coach, and they can turn this around. Billy Napier, I mean, it's weird he gets fired after a win, but the timing is a little weird.
It's too close to win. You can't beat Mississippi State by 2 or 3 points. What about this rumor? Lane Kiffin is intrigued. Does Lane Kiffin jump ship and go down there and take it?
Lane Kiffin's. I like Lane Kiffin, but he's a guy I would never try to figure out what goes through his mind. I would think he's got a really good deal going in Mississippi. Yeah, he can coach there for the rest of his career easily and make lots of money, and he'll probably contend and underperform a little bit because that's what they tend to do in some of the bigger games. But he would be safe there probably as long as he wants to be there. But I don't know. His eyes are always bigger than his belly, and they may still be that way. So
he's got a little bit of Bobby Petrino in him,
Yeah, a little bit without the, without the staff member on the back of the motorcycle. I guess
it's still early, Keith. That still may happen, man.
To me, and it's not it is a big story because Bobby Petrino could very well end up the head coach of Arkansas again after this interim gig. It's not a done deal that he won't be, and it's amazing. This guy's got like 100 lives, not 9. Man. I mean, he goes back to Louisville twice. He gets another shot here in Arkansas as the OC, and now he gets the head job. And there's a lot of people in Arkansas who think he should be the next head coach. And it just makes me scratch my head. I mean, how many train wrecks do you have to see before you realize the engineer's probably been hitting the bottle or something? So
because those fans, they still have the memory of the team playing well in Arkansas under Bobby Petrino.
They played very well. But
Ron Mallett, does that name as a Patriot fan, does that ring a bell, Keith?
He wasn't very good. He was very good. Not much of a professional quarterback, as Patriot and Texan fans can tell you.
Yeah. Well, he was 6'7". Boy, he was tall, wasn't he?
He was a big kid. And he played well in college. There's a lot of I say this all the time because, guys will go. We talked about it with some of the quarterbacks we've already talked about, too, just because they'll go to the next level and they'll fail. Yeah. Guys like to say, well, they weren't really that good in college because they failed in the pros. Well, how does one thing have anything to do with the other?
That's true. Look at Tim Tebow. He was great, man.
Tim Tebow's one of the top 5 college players of all time, and he failed in the pros. Doesn't mean he wasn't one of the best college players of all time. So one thing really has nothing to do with the other. It's still a different game, right? I mean, you get to the NFL, it's faster. Guys are smarter, more physical, whatever you want to say. There's a lot of reason why guys fail, but it doesn't diminish what you did in college, and we see that a lot. Yeah. A lot of Heisman Trophy winners through the years have been busts, right?
Oh, God, yes. Oh, Danny Warfel. I went to his high school for 1 year.
Again, does that mean he wasn't a great quarterback at Florida because he couldn't make it in the NFL? No.
Right. He was great, man. I'm out of Nashville. Drake May. I'm still surprised that he had a 90-something% completion percentage, best in franchise history. What are your thoughts on Drake May up to this point? Are you surprised he's this good with Josh McDaniels?
If I go back to draft day, yes, I'm very surprised that he's this good this fast. I'm not ashamed to say, because I make wrong calls a lot, I didn't want to pick him there. I wanted to pick Marvin Harrison and find a quarterback later on. So there you go.
Well, Marvin Harrison looked like he's a can't miss, Keith.
Yes. So that tells you what I know about quarterbacks. But still,
it's hard, man.
The thing is, you watch him, and what I'm impressed with is he gets better all the time. He rarely makes the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
And I've watched him this year. He's gotten better from week 1 to week 7.
Yeah.
Like night and day. He was still making, he can make plays on the move, right? And we've seen it, but he's making more plays now down the field when he moves than he did before, because before, when he was time to run, he's had his head down. He was running. Now he's got his head up and he's looking down the field and looking to make a play. And that's huge on this team, especially when you got a lack of talent on that wide receiver position. Although some of those guys are stepping up rather nicely in a surprising fashion. Boutte
I was just about to say, what do you think about Boutte? Yeah.
He's great the last 5 weeks. He's been tremendous. But Drake May is a leader.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel has shown that he's behind this guy 100%. And Mike Vrabel has made a huge difference in this kid's attitude and approach as well, as he has the whole team. Mike Vrabel's a culture guy, and he came in there and he changed the culture, and he said he was going to, and he's done that. And he's a player's coach, but he's tough at the same time. And I love watching his interaction with this team on the sidelines, in the tunnel after the game, when he greets every single player.
Every player. Yeah.
And the interaction inside the locker room, it's just, I love it. On the practice field. I've seen lots of video of him interacting with guys on the practice field. It's so much different there. It's like the old days, but not like the old days, because, he's better with people in the press than Belichick ever was. It's just fun. It's just fun to watch the team develop. Now, before I get too excited with this team and Drake May, I mean, the teams they've beaten outside of Buffalo, don't have a great winning percentage.
They destroyed us. It was embarrassing.
But you can only play the teams that are on your schedule. So this team's playing well. They should be favored in like 5 of the next 6 games still. This team is looking, I thought 9-8 would be the high water mark. I'm kind of pushing that towards 10 or 11 right now.
Woo. I was thinking 11. Yeah. I mean, that was in Buffalo. They're a 2 seed. Can you see this? Tom Brady got to the Super Bowl his second year.
He did. He did. And he didn't play his first year at all. So, that was a little bit. Drake May played a lot, obviously. This team has stepped up. Look, at the offensive line's got to continue to improve and play better. Will Campbell's been really, really good, by the way.
What a pick, man.
That was a great pick. People talk about his short or whatever. I don't care if his arms are like,
He's killing it. He's been killing it since camp.
He's playing every facet of this team. And by the way, an underrated guy in his team, well, maybe not underrated, but I don't think it's a coincidence. His winning streak started when Christian Gonzalez got healthy and that secondary got whole. And it's a lot different when you got a guy who can shut down the other guy's number one. And they didn't have that the first few weeks when he was hurt. And you saw the effect of that. And he's been played great since he's come back. So important he's healthy. I like the future. For the first time in about 4 years, I feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train. So it's a good light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, I was really curious to see what you thought about them. They beat Buffalo. Do you see them winning this division, or you think Buffalo's going to make a move and probably make a comeback here?
I think it'll be – the schedule's fairly favorable until we get close to the end, as I remember. So I do think they can challenge. I think they'll have to beat Buffalo at home to beat that series to actually win it. Because if they end up tied, I think that would be the tiebreaker. I think that would be the deciding factor. If they beat Buffalo at home, I think they can win this division.
Man, that is saying something. I mean, and so what does that do with Sean McDermott's job status? They're supposed to win it all. I had them winning it all, Keith.
And they
still
can't
might stop the run up there, man.
No, and they still might. I mean, they still got, as long as you've got 17 playing quarterback and Cook in the backfield, who I don't think they give the ball enough. I think they've tried to, and sometimes you make a mistake, I think, when you do this, when, you try to put a governor on a guy early in the year so that he doesn't fade and you can play in the playoffs, right? But you got to get to the playoffs. And if you don't get there, I think they're making a mistake and not giving Cook enough touches, similar to what the Eagles are doing with Saquon. Not enough touches. And but that, as long as you've got Cook and Hopkins,
Davis.
Christ, help me out.
Allen?
Josh Allen, Jesus. Who the hell's Hopkins?
Yeah.
As long as you got
you want to get DeAndre Hopkins on the Patriots.
I think I had DeAndre Hopkins on my mind. As long as you got 17-4, you're going to be good. But you're right. You've got to stop the run.
Yeah.
In the NFL, you still need to run the football. Even though it's a passing league, you still got to run the football, and you still got to stop the run. And teams that win do both those things. And Buffalo really isn't doing either one of those things. I don't think they're utilizing Cook enough, and they certainly don't stop the run.
Doesn't this remind you go far back, man, a little bit to the 80s and a little farther back. Doesn't this remind you? I know, 70. You've told me about the 70s Patriots before. I'm just thinking, you see a mega talent like a Josh Allen, doesn't this remind you of a Dan Reeves, John Elway type of situation where you got that mega talent, but you cannot get over the hump. You can run the ball some. He ain't got to the Super Bowl, but that was a different era then.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like, man, this guy is just same kind of player as an Elway.
It does feel a lot the same between the Elway, Dan Reeves, and Allen and McDermott. And there's always like a fatal flaw on those. They play great, but then they'd run into a great team. And they were just not physical enough, like to play the Giants and to play and whoever came out of the NFC, it seemed they weren't physical enough. That great defense that was very like a finesse defense, basically, wasn't physical enough to match up against the great teams that came out of the NFC. And we saw that in the
49ers.
AFC. All the AFC champions for about 15 years were like that. The Patriots, when they went to the Super Bowl in 86, the 85 season.
Oh, Lord.
They had a great defense until they ran into the Bears, who just physicaled them from the minute they stepped on the field, just overwhelmed them with their physical presence, both on offense and defense.
Does he survive? If they don't make the Super Bowl, does McDermott survive? I don't think he does.
I thought there comes a time. We saw it in college with James Franklin, right? If your ceiling is only going to be, not the very top, then at some point you have to say, enough, and I need somebody else to get me over the top. McDermott's a great coach. He'll have a job in a minute if he got fired, if he wanted one. But I think if it's not this year, it's going to be very soon, because right now you're wasting Josh Allen's career. Yeah.
Are you surprised, since the last time I talked to you, that they fired Franklin in season like this? Speaking of James Franklin. I've
talked about this and I have a couple of my followers who are very vehemently opposed. I never think firing a guy in a season, it's not going to turn your season around, right? You're not going to win. It doesn't work. It never works. Rarely works. So I was a little surprised, but I think it was just a magnitude of the fact that they were number 2 in the country, playing Oregon at home, and they lost a tough game at home, no shame. But then you go get beat by 2 20-point underdogs, one of them at home. One of them hadn't won a game.
Oh, that Northwestern was just –
yeah. And you're getting booed off the field. I think they just felt, look, we're going to do this at the end of the season anyway. We might as well just pull the plug right now. Gives you a little more time to look for a coach. Maybe get you out in front of – most likely your coach is coaching somewhere, so you got to wait anyway.
Yeah.
So – I'm never a big fan of that because one of the reasons, there's two big reasons. It doesn't work if you're trying to turn your season around and win, rarely work. If you've lost our locker room and things are toxic, that's different. Maybe you ought to get rid of them.
Yeah, but like the Urban Meyer situation in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, there you have to kind of Billy Napier, almost the same kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Things get toxic. But what you have to be careful of is when you bring an interim guy in, if he has any kind of success, sometimes you lock yourself in. Antonio Pierce with the Raiders is a perfect example.
Yes. That's what I said about here in Tennessee with McCoy.
It's the same kind of thing. If he wins a few games, you're going to say, oh, my gosh, no, that shouldn't come into the factor, and it always does in these situations. And
Romeo Cornell, Keith, remember that one?
Yeah.
With Kansas City. Remember they beat that undefeated Packer team?
Yeah.
Romeo Cornell's the best guy. They fired him like the next year.
Exactly. I mean, look, it's very, very difficult when Antonio Pierce is the guy who comes into mind because he's most recent. But
yeah.
Tim Skipper out in UCLA is probably a really good coach.
Oh, yeah.
But they won 3 in a row. I mean, theoretically, they could win. They could lose 2 more games. They're definitely going to lose Ohio State and Indiana, but they might win their other games. And they finish 6-6. He'd be 6-2. They're probably going to keep him. Is that the right move? It might be.
For them, maybe.
Chances are it won't be, and you got yourself fooled by, 6 or 8 weeks of better football just because the rest of it was so bad. So, and I'm not saying he's a bad coach, or maybe I'm not even saying he shouldn't have the job, but it shouldn't keep you from going out and doing a full search.
Yeah, I hate it when they do that. That is so lazy to hire the interim.
Yeah.
I had an argument with a friend of mine who works for the local radio station. He's not on their personality. I said, man, with the Tennessee job, we're getting a new stadium. You got to think big. You definitely don't want to hire this interim, and you don't want to hire – they're talking about bringing in guys like Arthur Smith, Keith, who was fired from Atlanta and used to be the offensive coordinator.
I don't get it.
Nagy – a retread. Go after Mike McCarthy. Go after John Gruden. Now, he had some pushback on Gruden. But those guys are Super Bowl winning coaches who would be interested in getting back into coaching again. With
Ward as your quarterback, if Gruden wanted that job, you'd be stupid not to give it to him. I don't care about all the other nonsense is gone, forgotten. We know a lot of it. He knows he was wrong with some of what he did. It was wrong. The NFL had to apologize for a lot of stuff on their side.
Yeah.
John Gruden deserves another shot.
Yeah.
And he's going to – I think he gets it this year, either in college. Don't count him out of a college job either.
Yeah.
But like Tennessee, especially with Cam Ward there, I mean, you'd be silly not to bring him in.
Yeah. Well, I'd already called McCarthy and offered him a lot of money.
I think McCarthy'd be a good coach for Cam, too. I really do. He's a good quarterback coach.
Yeah, yeah.
But the next hot assistant seems to work about 33% of the time. Is that good enough to just –
That's a good – there you go. There, yes.
I'm just making that up. I'm guessing, but I'm just trying to use some stupid math in my head as I go through guys quickly in my head. But like 1 out of 3 seem to make it.
Right. Who gets that Penn State job? They want to go big game hunting. Sounds like
do, but it's a tough job. I mean, because it's not as easy to recruit there as it used to be. You just fired a guy who, and I'm not a big James Franklin fan, but
good recruiter though.
But he did great recruiter, and he did put that team back on the map when they were, after the Paterno and Sandusky mess.
Oh, Lord.
Bill O'Brien came in there for a couple of years, but they were only 7-5, I think, the year he left. James Franklin got them back to the national, on the national podium, and just couldn't get him over the top. He didn't do a bad job there.
Right.
So the next coach is going to be expected to take them to the next level. And in college now, you don't get a long time if you haven't noticed. Nick Saban talked about this today. In the world we live in with NIL money and transfer portals, and you got 2 years to win, and then your job's on the line.
LSU fans told me before the game, I do Uber here in Nashville. The game was here in Nashville Saturday. They said they don't want Brian Kelly there. Before the Vandy game,
They probably got to come up with $60 million to get him go away.
53 and some change.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So.
Yeah, we got it laying around. I didn't think they'd buy Franklin, but that's what I get for thinking.
There. I mean, there's a lot of guys with a lot of money. This is one thing I think you're going to see change is the guarantees are going to change because you can't give guys 10 and 12-year contracts for $10 and $12 million a year and guarantee all the money and then give them 2 years to win because you kind of put yourself between a rock and a hard place. You got Kelly ready to get 50+ million. Mike Norvell at Florida State is going to get 50 million if they're
already having meetings on him. Yeah.
He got a rousing vote of confidence today when he said, we're 100% behind Coach Norvell for the rest of the season, but then we're going to reevaluate the entire program.
Is that famous last word?
Well, that last part is, you're good for the next month, but after that, we're evaluating the whole thing. So
November the 20, whatever. Yeah. You might be a dead man. Yeah.
He might better go on a 4-game winning streak is what all I'm telling Mike Norvell, or he's going to get $50 million to say goodbye. There's a lot of guys out there with a lot of money sitting on the table if they got fired. Yeah. So no, and obviously I think you're going to see a change in how these go in college because I read an article in The Athletic a few weeks back about one AD needs to be brave enough just to say, we're going to give you this amount of money guaranteed to coach, say whatever, $8 million. And then we're going to give you bonuses for winning your conference, going to the playoff, winning the national championship. That's where the rest of the money is going to come from. They're not going to guarantee hundreds of millions of dollars to these coaches. And then, in 3 years, look at just in the last couple of years, you had Mel Tucker, you had Jimbo Fisher.
Mel Tucker. I forgot about this. Yes.
Yeah. Now you got Franklin. Now you got Napier. Now you might have Kelly and Norvell. And these are guys. We're getting close to $500 million in payouts.
Man, yeah. We got a lady in the pros here. She's paying tons of buyouts. She's probably still paying Mike Vrabel some money.
Probably.
And he's kicking her butt.
That had to be a satisfying win for him. Here's fans chanting his name at the end of that game. Man, maybe hard for you guys, but
no, it's okay. We'll live. I go out and get Mike McCarthy. But here's my take on her, Keith. If she goes out and gets one of these clowns, Arthur Smith in air quotes, I think she needs to sell the team. Daniel Snyder, that lady. Woody Johnson.
That's a good move.
Fans.
Yeah, Woody Johnson. Just keep hiring defensive coordinators. It doesn't work. I mean, how many times you have to do it? Think about the Jets. When was the last time they hired an established coach? Bill Parcells?
I can't remember.
Well, Bill Belichick, but he only stayed one day.
25, yeah, and Belichick hates him.
Probably Parcells. And the last offensive-minded guy they hired, I think, was Bruce Coslett. How long ago was that?
Well, Gase wasn't he off? He was horrible though.
Who's that?
Adam Gase. Wasn't he offensive?
Yeah, he was an offensive guy. You're right, but he was horrible.
Well, he coached Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Brian Callahan coached Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Jets are just Woody Johnson just has no clue what he's doing. None.
Did you hear he threw Justin Fields under the bus the other day?
Well, what's he doing on your team then? I mean, you brought him in here.
You're the owner.
I mean, you signed off on him coming in.
Yeah.
And he should be.
He's a disaster, man.
I mean, I really thought he played better this year. I did, but this is just. You talk about a toxic waste dump. The Jets are it. Where's their wins coming from? They may not win a game.
Man. And here in Tennessee, we want them to win a game. We want that number one pick. I don't know what to do with it. Us and the Saints.
You're not taking a quarterback, so that's a good thing.
We'll trade it for, our roster stinks, man. It's terrible. Keith Angle, everybody. Plug your shows again. I listen to you and Jack every now and then. I'll say something on there when I
always say good morning. Sometimes if I haven't gotten to it right away, you might be gone or something. But we do the Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern. I do the Wednesday night. We have the College Football Huddle at 7 p.m. Eastern. Friday, I do the Major League Baseball update at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we have the Sunday Stream of Consciousness on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern for a couple hours. That's my favorite 2 hours of the week.
Yeah.
And we sit on some roundtables with some other shows as well.
Woo! So. Hey, who wins the World Series, Keith? Does the Jays have a chance?
6 games, Dodgers. I'll give the Blue Jays 2 games. Scrap out 2 games, but Dodgers in 6.
Well, that makes it be worth watching then if they're going to win 2 games.
They might get swept, but I thought the Mariners would be a better matchup because I think their pitching matches up better with the Dodgers. I think I think the Mariners would have been a better matchup but that was a weird series. I thought the Mariners and Blue Jays, a home team, didn't win a game for 5 until game 5.
So much for that. It's all who's pitching the best.
Yeah, momentum is as good as the next day's starting pitcher, right? So
ain't that the truth? Pitching wins. Look at the Dodgers.
It does.
Keith Engel, huh?
It does. You're 100% right.
Man. All right, but I don't know. Should I pull for a Canadian team? I'm tired of looking at the Dodgers, Keith.
Well, you can pull for the Canadians. I mean, we don't all hate. They hate us. I don't hate them. So.
No, I pick them up in Uber all the time. They're super nice people. They tip. They're really cool, man.
I worked for a Canadian company for 23 years when I just retired. They are good people.
Oh, okay. So the checks still coming. They're good.
Well, they're not anymore. They stopped coming when I retired. I didn't realize they'd stop paying me after I retired. Somebody explain that to me.
Keith Engel, everybody. All right, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow with the Mad New Yorker. We'll go over this god-awful week we have. And have a good night. If you like the show, please share the show. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, here on The Real Sports.